Buckingham Palace, the heart of the British monarchy. Behind its iconic facade, behind the gold-gilded gates and the guards in their bearskin hats, a war is being fought, not with swords, not with armies, but with whispers, with cold shoulders, with the silent, crushing weight of royal protocol. For years, Queen Camilla has worked tirelessly to rewrite her story, to transform herself from the most vilified woman in Britain into the queen consort. She has smiled through the insults. She has endured the comparisons to Diana. She has stood beside King Charles through cancer, through crisis, through everything the monarchy could throw at her. But there is one woman who has never bowed to her. One woman who refused to curtsy when Camilla became queen. One woman who once told the late Queen Elizabeth herself that she would never, ever bow to Camilla, not even as she sat on the throne. That woman is Princess Anne, the hardest working royal, the king's only sister. And now, the woman who has just made a decision that could bring Camilla's carefully constructed world crashing down. This is a story of a decades-old rivalry, a rivalry that began with a shared lover, festered through years of cold silence, and has now exploded into open warfare behind palace walls. This is a story of how Princess Anne finally decided enough was enough, and how that decision changes everything for Queen Camilla. To understand what is happening inside Buckingham Palace right now, you have to go back, way back, to the 1970s when a young princess was dating a dashing army officer named Andrew Parker Bowles. The relationship was intense. Friends from that period remember the intensity of their connection. But Andrew was a Roman Catholic, and as a member of the royal family, the supreme governor of the Church of England, Anne could not marry him. It was, as royal author Angela Levin put it, out of the question. So the relationship ended. Andrew moved on, and he married someone else. That someone else was Camilla Shand. Camilla married Andrew Parker Bowles in 1973, but the marriage was never truly happy, not least because Camilla had already caught the eye of another man, a man who would one day be king, a man named Charles. By the time Camilla entered the royal fold officially, the history between these women was already poisoned and had dated Camilla's husband. Camilla had stolen Anne's brother's heart, and now they were expected to be sisters-in-law, to smile, to play nice, to pretend the past didn't exist, and didn't pretend. According to royal biographers, Princess Anne kept her distance from Camilla as much as possible when she first entered the royal family. She reportedly initially gave Camilla the cold shoulder. Camilla found Anne's frosty demeanor difficult and somewhat unnerving to cope with. And then there was the prediction. Angela Levin, in her biography of Camilla, revealed that Anne was, for many years, opposed to the idea of Camilla being granted the title of Queen Consort. And she made a brutal, devastating prediction about Camilla's future. Camilla will never be a true queen. That wasn't just a comment. That was a curse, a declaration of war wrapped in a prediction. For years, Anne kept her distance. She aligned herself with her nephews, William and Harry, rather than with the woman who had broken up their parents' marriage. She watched as Camilla slowly, painstakingly rehabilitated her image. She watched as the public began to accept her. She watched as Charles finally made her his queen. And she waited. In November 2024, the two women had a rare joint engagement, the University of London's Foundation Day. Queen Camilla was being awarded an honorary doctorate, and Princess Anne, in her role as Chancellor of the university, was the one who had to present it. It should have been a moment of unity, a photo opportunity, a chance to show the world that the frosty relationship had thawed. But something happened that day that told a very different story. As the two women prepared to enter the room, Queen Camilla invited Princess Anne to go ahead of her, a gracious gesture, a sign of respect, a chance for Anne to take precedence. Princess Anne smiled, and then she politely refused. She insisted that the queen go first, not because she was being respectful, but because royal protocol demanded it. The order of precedence is a sequential hierarchy of nominal importance. And the student of protocol, was not about to let Camilla break the rules. Even Camilla herself was offering. The message was clear: I will follow the rules, but I will not accept any special treatment from you. You are the queen by marriage. I am the princess royal by birth. And I will not forget the difference. It was a small moment, a subtle snub, but in the world of royalty, subtlety is everything. Then came the Christmas walk at Sandringham in December 2025. Princess and made a bold decision. She matched with Queen Camilla in red, flanking King Charles on either side. On the surface, it looked like unity, like the two women had finally buried the hatchet. But insiders knew better. They saw the calculation. They saw the positioning. And wasn't supporting Camilla, she was sending a message. She was showing the world that she could play the game when she needed to, that she could present a united front when the cameras were rolling, and that when the cameras stopped, the war would resume. By early 2026, the tension had become impossible to ignore, and the catalyst was the one subject that divides a royal family like nothing else. Prince Andrew. King Charles had made a decision, a brutal, decisive decision. He stripped his brother Andrew of his titles, his honors, and his right to be called a prince. He evicted him from Royal Lodge. He cut him off from the royal payroll. The message was clear. The disgraced Duke of York was no longer welcome in the family. Queen Camilla supported this decision fully. In fact, sources say she was instrumental in pushing Charles to take such a hard line. She reportedly made it her mission to thwart any efforts to get Charles to soften his approach. But Princess saw things differently, and, according to well-placed sources, came forward with a viewpoint that surprised everyone. She defended her brother Andrew, and feels this whole thing has gone way beyond what's fair, an insider told the National Enquirer. She believes their late mother, Queen Elizabeth II, would have wanted this handled with far more discretion and dignity, especially given Andrew's years of service. In Anne's view, Andrew had already paid a huge price. She didn't feel it was right to keep kicking a man when he's down. This stance led to some very fiery arguments behind palace walls, and the person Anne was arguing with most fiercely, Queen Camilla. Camilla can't believe and is defending what she sees as the indefensible, the source revealed. She thinks Andrew's lucky he's still being allowed to breathe British air. The two women were at loggerheads, each urging the other to find balance between family loyalty and royal duty. But neither was willing to back down. Anne's defense of Andrew was about more than just her brother. It was about loyalty. It was about the way the family had always operated, discreetly, privately, behind closed doors. It was about the memory of their mother, who would have hated to see her son publicly humiliated. And it was about Camilla, because for Anne, Camilla represented everything wrong with the new monarchy, the ruthless, calculating, image-obsessed machine that had replaced the old-fashioned family values and had grown up with. The clash over Andrew reopened all the old tensions between them. The frostiness that had been simmering for decades suddenly erupted into open conflict. But the Andrew crisis wasn't the only thing driving a wedge between the two women. There was something else, something more personal, something that made Anne genuinely furious. Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, Andrew's daughters and nieces, were being frozen out of the royal family. First, they were reportedly banned from attending the royal ascot races. Then they were excluded from other royal events. Their royal positions were slowly being stripped away, and they were paying the price for their father's sins. Princess Anne was not happy, and is not happy that Eugenie and Beatrice are being frozen out, a source told Heat World. As their aunt, she's very protective of them, and she doesn't take kindly to someone she sees as an outsider being cruel to them. And who did and believe was behind this cruel campaign? Queen Camilla, and is sure that the cold treatment has Camilla's fingerprints all over it. She doesn't believe for a moment that King Charles would be doing this if it weren't for Camilla calling the shots and insisting on it. She thinks it's awful that they're paying the price for what their parents have been accused of, especially considering Eugenie is pregnant, the source added. This was the final straw for Anne. The treatment of her nieces was personal. It was cruel, and it was in her eyes the work of an outsider who had no right to dictate the fate of true-born royals. The tension between Anne and Camilla became impossible to ignore at a garden party at Buckingham Palace. The two women were forced into a joint appearance, and the tension between them at the event was all anyone could talk about. According to insiders, it was so apparent that neither of them wanted to be there. And then came the moment that changed everything. In March 2026, the royal family gathered at Westminster Abbey for Commonwealth Day. King Charles and Queen Camilla arrived together. Prince William, Kate Middleton, and Princess Anne were there to greet them. William kissed his father's cheek. Kate bowed to the king, and then she bowed to Queen Camilla. But Princess Anne did not. As the king and queen approached and greeted her brother, she showed him the respect he was due. But when it came time to acknowledge Camilla, the queen consort, the woman who now outrank her, and did not curtsy, she simply didn't. The video of the moment went viral. It brought back memories of the old reports. The rumors that Anne had once told Queen Elizabeth that she would never bow to Camilla, even if she became queen. Now the world had seen it with their own eyes. Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, the daughter of a sovereign, had refused to bow to the queen consort, in public, in front of the cameras, in front of her brother, in front of the world. It was a decision, a deliberate, calculated, devastating decision, and had decided that she would no longer pretend. She would no longer play the game. She would no longer give Camilla the respect that protocol demanded, but that Anne felt she had not earned. The snub sent shockwaves through the palace. It was a public declaration of war, and it changed everything. Because of Princess Anne, the hardest-working royal, the king's own sister, the woman who had served the monarchy for over 50 years, would not bow to Camilla. Then what did that say about Camilla's place in the family? What did it say about her future? To understand a way to what Anne did, you have to understand who Anne is. She is not a frivolous woman. She is not given to dramatic gestures or public displays of emotion. She is, by all accounts, the most disciplined, the most dedicated, the most professional member of the royal family. She has carried out more engagements than any other royal. She has served her country with quiet, relentless determination for her entire adult life. She is also fiercely loyal to her family, to her mother's memory, to the old ways of doing things, the discreet, dignified, private ways that the monarchy used to operate. And she has watched for decades as Camilla slowly, methodically, dismantled everything her mother built. Camilla, the outsider, has become the queen. She has pushed aside the old guard. She has influenced the king's decisions. She has sidelined Anne's nieces. She has rewritten the rules to suit herself. Anne has had enough. The refusal to bow wasn't just about protocol. It was about identity. It was about legacy. It was about the soul of the monarchy itself. And was saying, with that single silent gesture, you may be queen in name, but you will never be queen in my heart. You will never be a true queen, and I will never, ever bow to you. For Camilla, the snub was devastating. She has spent years trying to earn the respect of the family. She has worked tirelessly to rehabilitate her image. She has stood by Charles through illness and crisis. She has done everything the monarchy has asked of her, and still it is not enough. Still, she is seen as an outsider. Still, she is rejected by the one woman whose acceptance matters most. The emotional toll must be immense. To be queen consort, to have achieved the ultimate goal, and still be publicly humiliated by your own sister-in-law. To know that the family will never fully accept you. To understand that no matter what you do, you will always be the other woman. For Anne's supporters, the snub was a victory, a long overdue reckoning. A reminder that Camilla's past cannot be erased, no matter how many charities she supports or how many smiles she flashes. For the public, it was a moment of pure drama. The kind of moment that reminds us that the royals are not just figures on a screen. They are real people with real grievances, real grudges, and real power struggles. But this is about more than a family feud. This is about the future of the monarchy itself. Princess Anne's decision to publicly snub Camilla raises profound questions about what happens when King Charles is no longer on the throne. Charles is battling cancer. His health is fragile. And while he is the king, he is Camilla's strongest protector within the family. Without him, royal observers believe Camilla may find herself isolated, with limited backing from senior Windsors. Prince William, the future king, has never fully accepted Camilla. He has remained publicly neutral. But behind closed doors, sources say he still harbors resentment over how his mother was treated. Prince Harry has been even more open, calling Camilla the villain, and accusing her of trading private information with the press. And now Princess N, the most respected member of the family, has made it clear that she will not support Camilla either. So what happens when Charles is gone? Some suggest Camilla could step back from royal life and spend more time with her children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopez. Others predict she will remain committed to the institution, regardless of the personal tensions. But one thing is certain: her position is fragile. Her authority is contested, and the decision made by Princess and has exposed that fragility for the world to see. The monarchy is an institution built on tradition, on hierarchy, on respect. When that respect is withheld, publicly, deliberately, by the king's own sister, the entire edifice begins to crack. And snub was not just a personal insult. It was a political act, a declaration that Camilla's legitimacy as queen is not universally accepted, a warning that when Charles is gone, the family may not rally around her. In a monarchy, legitimacy is everything, and Camilla's legitimacy has just been dealt a devastating blow. And then there's the ghost that haunts all of this, the ghost of Diana. Camilla has spent decades trying to escape Diana's shadow. She has worked tirelessly to convince the public that she is not the villain of the story. She has supported charities, carried out engagements, and presented herself as a devoted, dutiful queen consort. But Diana's shadow is long, and it is dark. Diana herself fueled the narrative of the third person in her marriage during her 1995 BBC interview. Her sons have never fully forgiven Camilla, and now Diana's sister-in-law, the aunt of Diana's children, has made it clear that she sided with Diana's memory over Camilla's presence, and has long aligned herself with her nephews, particularly in support of William's young children. She has been a protector of Diana's legacy, and her refusal to bow to Camilla is a powerful symbol of where her loyalties lie. For Camilla, this is a nightmare. No matter how hard she works, no matter how many smiles she flashes, she will always be compared to Diana. She will always be the woman who broke up the fairy tale. And now, even the Princess Royal has chosen sides. The decision made at Westminster Abbey was not just a snub. It was a statement that Diana's memory still matters, that the pain Camilla caused has not been forgotten, that forgiveness, for some, is not possible. Princess Anne has made her decision. She will not bow. She will not pretend. She will not accept Camilla as her queen. And that decision changes everything. For Camilla, the path forward is now fraught with uncertainty. She can continue to smile and carry out her duties. She can hope that time will heal the wounds. She can rely on Charles' protection for as long as he is alive. But she knows now with absolute certainty that she will never be fully accepted, that there will always be a faction within the family, led by the king's own sister, that sees her as an outsider, that rejects her legitimacy, that will never bow. For Anne, the decision is a liberation. She has finally said, in the most public way possible, what she has been thinking for decades. She has honored her mother's memory, protected her nieces, and stood up for what she believes is right. She has shown the world that the monarchy is not a monolith, that there are fractures beneath the surface, that the old guard is still fighting. And for the monarchy itself, Anne's decision is a warning that the institution is fragile, that its traditions are not always respected, that its hierarchy is not always accepted. The monarchy has survived for 1,000 years. It has weathered wars, scandals, and revolutions, but has never faced a challenge quite like this. A queen consort who is not accepted by the king's own sister, a family divided against itself, a future that is uncertain. In the end, what happened at Westminster Abbey was not just a snub. It was a reckoning, a moment when decades of tension, resentment, and pain finally boiled over. Princess Anne, the hardest-working royal, the daughter of a sovereign, the woman who has served her country for over 50 years, made a decision that she would no longer pretend, a decision that she would no longer bow. And in that decision, she changed everything for Queen Camilla. Camilla may be queen consort. She may sit on the throne beside Charles. She may have the titles, the jewels, the respectability that comes with decades of careful image management. But she will never have Anne's respect. She will never have Anne's acceptance. And she will never, ever receive Anne's curtsy. because and made a promise to herself, to her mother's memory, and to Diana's children. A promise that she would never bow to the woman who had caused so much pain. And she kept that promise. The third person in Diana's marriage is now the first person in Charles's life. But she will never be the first person in the hearts of the senior royals. She will never be a true queen, because princess and said so. And in the British monarchy, what the princess royal says matters. The decision has been made. The line has been drawn. And for Queen Camilla, nothing will ever be the same again.